Hi, everybody. Glad to be here today. I've been an activist. Like you said, a lot of people might know me from the cafe. I was there from most of the time. It had a location. Hopefully, it'll have a location sometime again. But a lot more people know me from Facebook, where I started. Basically, as soon as I got on Facebook back in 2008, was about the same time I got hooked up with Oregon Normal through going to the meetings where we gave away clones and medicine to people who couldn't afford to buy it or have their own growers and stuff. So I got very involved with that, and I'm very happy for the chance to talk here today. I think it's important not only to talk to your legislatures, but also to talk just to your family and your friends who are not, out here today. Preaching to the choir is a wonderful thing to do, and you'll do it, a lot if you get the chance to speak to people. Most of the people you talk to will be people who agree with you, but there's a lot of people out there who will listen to reason, as we can see passing the Measure 91 here at 56% was a big victory for, our movement and the world, and especially when several months before, the year before, we were told by the Marijuana Policy Project that we shouldn't seek to legalize in 2014 because it was an off-year election and people wouldn't come out and things wouldn't happen because of experience they had in the past with gay marriage, and which is a great issue, and I'm glad to see that moving forward, and it's another issue that has unstoppable momentum. But when you look at consistent polling across the country, which puts support for medical marijuana at 80% and higher among the general population, it's time for the politicians to just get with the program. And the way to make that happen, again, is to contact your legislatures, write letters, emails. I got this SB 844, which Aaron was talking about a minute ago, where they're making changes to the medical program. I've emailed back and forth with Peter Buckley, and some of the suggestions that I made actually made it into the latest amendments structure. So they listen. They're trying to do things right, and they know that there's a lot at stake, and they're listening, and it's very good to see that happening here, and to provide an example for the people who will come after us. And because in 2016, we'll probably see legalization initiatives in California. We'll get the whole West Coast legal for adults. It'll be great. And also Nevada, possibly Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Maine are talking about doing it through the legislature. Ohio supposedly has half the signatures they need to get it on the ballot for 2015. Passing legalization in Ohio in an odd year would be almost unthinkable, but it may happen. But while all this good stuff is happening and we're giving a good example, people are still being executed around the world for cannabis trafficking crimes. Last weekend in Indonesia, one of the 9 people who were put in front of a firing squad was a cannabis trafficker, and he was killed for it. And then every year, Indonesia, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, a couple other different countries, there's about 9 around the world that still execute people for drug crimes. And the drug war just has to end. That's, the violence we saw last week in Maryland around the Freddie Gray killing is, made possible by the no-knock raids and other exorbitant measures that have been just become everyday events for the police to put on. There have been SWAT raids and no-knock raids, and people just shouldn't be dying for this plant that can save so many people, and which we're finding out now on the hemp side of things, we can make batteries for a small fraction of the cost, graphene level batteries that will hold a tremendous charge for a tremendous amount of time at a much, much cheaper cost than it would to make it from the scientifically otherwise derived stuff. But things are going in the right direction. It's good to see Brave Michaela up here. But keep in mind that last month in Kansas, an 11-year-old boy was in a drug education class, and they were talking about how these people should avoid cannabis, and it had ill health effects. And this 11-year-old stood up and said, "No, it doesn't. It saved my mother's life." And he went down to list all the good things that cannabis does for people. Well, that ended up with him being taken away from his mother. So Shona Banda, who's a woman, she's in Kansas, she saved her life. She had Crohn's disease and was on the brink of death, and discovered that cannabis oil could save her. And now she's, instead of being bedridden and not being able even to hold her kid, which she was at the time, she's an activist, and she's lost her kid for the time being. So this stuff is still going on. There are people dying, and there's the legislation that's coming out. There's a lot of legislation coming out in places like Oklahoma, of all places, and Georgia. But there's CBD-only laws, which people want because CBD is very helpful with seizures and stuff, and it doesn't get you high. But that keeps out the THC, which does so much for so much. The whole plant medicine is really the way to go, and anything other than that is an excuse for the police to be able to still keep arresting people. Thanks for letting me speak today. I wanted to give a shout out to LK, who's here, and who told me, he used to introduce me to people in the cafe. He would say, if someday your kids aren't getting arrested for smoking weed, this is going to be the guy you want to thank. And that's like the biggest honor I've gotten from anybody. And that's just for, posting on Facebook and not shutting up about it. We're not done with this fight. Keep it up. Contact your legislatures. Tell people back in your home states, if you moved to Oregon like I did, to talk to their legislatures. 80% support, and politicians are afraid to support it still in places. Thanks for your time, and look forward to the march later on. Have a great day.